think people are much more like thinking and focused around how to use their data. If you rewind about 5 years ago, people were just thinking about capturing that data and putting it in a system. And now it's much more about like we have all this data everywhere. That's what the really the value of that organization is. But how do we do something with that now? And that's really, across whether it be like a system selection kind of discussion or whether it be like a strategy conversation for the organization. That's really what the root seems to be about is how do we make sure that we're connecting all these systems and platforms so that we can do something with the information that we're capturing versus just making sure it sits someplace securely.
Hmm.
I think it's a really good next step. We're all working on a system at
Hmm.
some point in time during your day. And now the trickle effect of that means over years, it's rolling up to the CEO and saying, like, wait, we have all this technology that we have to rely on now. So, but we can't just stay where we are. We can't keep it status quo. So, but how do I, as a CEO, sequence what that looks like based on the project portfolio that we have and aligning it to their strategy? Like, if you're
Right.
trying to grow an organization that has state membership and you have all 50 states, like that's not like the growth part isn't from a new membership perspective.
Right.
It's from a different avenue, right? So
Right.
it really depends on what the organization is trying to do, but
Hmm.
definitely where the CEO comes into play, it has to be a top-down buy-in to make sure that there's like the technology aligns with where they're trying to go. There's another piece that I think is interesting to that when a CEO is invested in like changing all the technology or at least evolving that technology
Hmm.
is that the change management aspect of it, like the people part of it and how recognizing that you can't just swap out all the systems at once and expect all the people on your staff to be happy with their job. Like making sure that it sticks and it's something that is rolled out effectively is a really interesting thing to see on the minds of CEOs now. Instead
Hmm.
of just, we need a strategy, we need a portfolio of tech projects. Now it's also like, but how do we make sure that it's effective? Because we don't want to do the same dance we've done for 10 years of like swapping a system and then swapping a system, and it just doesn't really solve our problems.
Have
When
to,
you have people that
you're
are
right.
empowered to make decisions and turn automations on that are like in their silo of their own division or their own
Hmm.
function, then and you don't know the ripple effect of like if I turn my automation on, what does that mean for the other teams that are
Hmm.
impacted by this process? You ask that the other partner is their authentic self as well, and that's where you get to the root of like open, honest candor and trust is built. And that is the basis for any partnership in life, right? But especially when you're talking about in a business context, you have to have partners that you trust, and the only way to get there is by having open, honest communication about everything. The problems just keep changing and evolving, but that's the exciting part is just coming up with the new solutions and adapting the solutions to what the current challenges are. The other one that just continues to kind of grow as a problem is security, of course.
Mm.
And that's something where I'm really proud of how our team takes that approach of like making sure that we're ahead of the game with tools to use for that purpose. But the people part of it is also a huge thing. And it's interesting to see a few or more organizations leaning into policy procedure development and like all the people part of how security could become the problem. But you need the people need to be the ones in charge of their own behaviors and actions. I think
Yeah.
that's also kind of the next evolution of how technology is viewed in this industry. Like there's
Hmm.
it's the people part of it is the big part of the equation that makes it successful
Mm.
or not, right? And that's legacy wise, it's always been, well, that's just a network thing or that's just a technical thing. Like I don't need to know anything about that. But the impacts of it now compared to like 10 years ago are tenfold what they used to be because everybody needs applications to access and
Hmm.
things to do online.
I'm ready.